All right, welcome to another episode of Solos. We're nicknaming this the Bridge episode. We'll see if that makes the title by the time we record it in full. But I always like to recap what we've talked about and just make sure there's some continuity here. But this is the one that's bridging 2025 and 2026, which is a big year, a big time because we're going from a 9 year back to reset to a 1 year, right? Um,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. And a 10. We get a
And
1 and a 10,
Well,
right?
that's a conversation I want to. We'll see that because I want to ask. Because do we get 2 1 years in a row? Is that how this works? Like
Uh,
2027 is also a 1 year, is it not?
well,
Oh no, it's two because
2027 would
it's
be 2.
11.
Yeah,
Got
because
it.
it's 1 and 1, so it's 2. So this is where we start getting like the expansion of consciousness, right? We're rather than just getting a 9 year, we're getting a 10 and a 1 year. So we have 1 0 and then 1. Like all as these different play factors basically, so we can
Yeah,
kind of like it's these different perspectives, and I think that's what the bridge between represents. I that feeling of the bridge between, and the theme of this is very bridge betweeny. We're very in an in between phase in our life right now, but it
yes,
also doesn't feel as in between as before, right? It's like we're
right.
in it, it's happening, but we still see this bridge, like the distance we still kind of have to walk. But we're more okay with it now, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yes, which is a sign of the consciousness expanding because you can
Hmm.
see it from yeah, and
Hmm.
we talked about quantum last episode. We talked about quantum jumping, quantum healing. Um, yeah, just reality existing and like back to a previously titled episode was decoding reality. So that I feel like that's the whole theme of season one here.
Definitely.
Yeah, we chatted about your children's book, The Field of Imagination, and Ant-Man. I'm just reading some notes here, and
Hmm.
Pythagoras, and yeah, and so we have a few things that we want to reference here as well, because we left off with remote viewing. So how do we
Hmm.
want to seed and direct people? Because we have something exciting to share. It's already out, right? By the time this comes out. So how do we want to present this to people?
We do, yes. It's very exciting, and we when this idea came up, we both got like, oh my god, this is so cool. Like this isn't we aren't we're seeing other people do it, and they do it great, and they do it great for what they're doing, and then we have zoned in on our mojo, I think, as our combination of solos together, which is this infrastructure combined with the full illuminating of what's all there, the negativity, the heaviness, the darkness. So we decided to do our first remote view session, which is going to be a continued series of sessions. We're going to do maybe two a month, once a month. We don't know yet. But the first one we did was for the Pentagon, and it was mind blowing, to say the least.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you can find that on our page. It's there.
Hmm.
And just keep an eye out for it. It's
Yeah.
very intriguing stuff.
Yeah, we'll have it linked in the show description. And yeah, it will all play into the different podcast conversations, what's going to come up in this podcast conversation. It's all web, and we're attempting to show the connections and the bridges between the different points of the web, I guess.
Hmm
Hmm.
which is related to the topic of convergence, and that's where we've been the last couple of conversations. So yeah, how are you feeling today? And where would you like to kick us off today?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good. All the stuff that we talk about in these conversations are always exactly what's happening in our life. I don't, now that I think about it, I don't know if other podcasts are podcast people ever talking about stuff that's not happening in their life. I feel like that's impossible. But it's like we intend to do it that way. We figure out what we want to understand
Yeah.
and what we need to learn how to articulate, and it's a bridge. It creates what everybody else needs, and it gives us what we need. And so it's just so interesting to look at these reflections of these notes of like the last episode, and it's we bridge into quantum mechanics, observation, measurement, the measurement problem in quantum physics, and the double slit idea of observation shifting things. And we're now talking about the year of 10 and 1, having two different perspectives of observation shifting.
Mm.
And so it's like then in my own life every day it's been hard. You know, we've released a podcast where it's been irritating. There's been a lot of anger, a lot of sadness, a lot of grief, and every day there's just these mind-blowing breakthroughs. Like mind-blowing. It's like the things that I used to try to get to as breakthroughs, you know, a year, 2 years ago. It's an everyday thing that I don't have to try to do anymore. And I think it's just like it's a testament to all of the ideas and the things that we're talking about in here. And so when we're getting into the space of like quantum jumping and measurement and the double slit, and it's all very floaty, it's all very up here, but we always want to be bringing it back down like into our body over and over and over and over again. And so
Yeah.
I think like the most important thing is feeling how the body is the guide and the body is the thing that is like leading us, but we've cut ourselves off from that intelligence and we go in mind. And so through these ideas, we're actually understanding the inner mind, understanding the scope of mind, and we're allowing our body to then generate and produce the things that we want, that our soul wants, that our soul knows it's going to receive and experience and create for itself and for others. And so there's this idea of process, and then there's this idea of outcome and manifestation, and it's cause and effect, and it's this movement that we're getting throughout our life. And so I think we want to take in this episode all of these very expansive ideas and understand, well, what happens when they come true? What happens when our life starts to represent miracle consciousness, when it starts to produce fruits that we've been laboring towards for a while? And what do those terms even mean? And so, yeah, I think we'll just start there.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to talk about that because I feel like to get to this point, even a lot of the limiting beliefs about those things being possible have been addressed. Now, I'm not saying like, okay, like I'm all prepared. Like, there's still layers of it to go, and I think that's what's cool about these conversations is that we're watching each other and other people are watching us work through some of these things. At least for me, with like, I never, I wanted to believe they were possible. At one point, I probably was convinced they were, and then like you live this lifetime of like sucked into everything else that is happening that's outside of these possibilities. And it's like, well, I don't know if it's possible. So now we're getting
Mm-hmm.
to this point with, yeah, maybe that's the question. I'll answer. I don't know if you asked the question, but I'm going to answer it with a question of like, what do we have to do to be prepared for this? Or is it like the preparation is merging with the creation, like the experience of it, right? So we're not, there is nothing to be more to be prepared for other than the experience of what we're experiencing.
Absolutely. And I think it's a matter of moving beyond belief. It's actually belief is a stepping stone to our knowing. And it's like the belief is the bridge, but those bridges have become, you know, destructive and they're eroding and they're disconnected. And it's like we have this gap between like the knowing in our soul, in our consciousness, which is in our body, and then we have this which is in our higher self, our source knowing, that merging, and then we have this body knowing, the body that we are now, and that's based off of all of our individual experiences in this life. And so we have this gap that we have to bridge, which is the knowing of our source self versus the belief in our body. And so we're trying to bring those things together. And so belief is actually like the thing that is the make or break. It's like the double-edged sword. And so the belief can either bring us into like very strong pillars, or it can create completely parasitic environments.
Mm,
And the beliefs are actually like receptors to ideas. So they're like receiving these ideas. They're like almost on our cells. They're like beliefs are a part of the cells, and they're receiving these ideas in the cells, and then they're holding them in there. So we can go in and then actually work with the beliefs in our cells and then
mm,
align to the beliefs, that we know are true, are the objective truth, and then those merge and become knowing over time. And so it's a process of bridging that belief versus that's knowing, because sometimes with belief, it's like we can tell ourselves we believe something all day long, but we aren't actually getting to that place in our body because there's something in our body, there's something that's opposite to that. So it's like we are being called to really feel what is the process that we're using to navigate all of the different choice points that have been coming up in all the previous episodes, like death and being a warrior and knowing how to navigate chaos, and it's all coming down to knowing what the next choice is. But that knowing isn't about knowing all the information to make the next choice. It's knowing the feeling in the body and the trust in the body's movement. So it's like bringing it down to this very simplistic foundation of we have all this quantum stuff up here and all these choices, but it's all coming down to a binary code. Yes or no. Those are the two things that we use to make all of our choices.
Mm, yeah. I was just going to make a comment that the knowing and the beliefs up to this point, at least for me, have been to close out these karmas, right? Or these things that I'm still going through, these pains in my body, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what we're saying is we're getting to this point to where we're running out of the karmas to work through. And as we heal those and bring those to finality, then we're at the 0 point. And what do we do? We like, and I think you answered this already. It's what our soul wants to experience. And
Mm-hmm.
so I always like to use the qualification term that we've gotten to this point and done all the healing so that we can wield this power now. And we're going to do it in a way that's for the highest good of myself, but without infringing upon the highest good of others. And it's becoming instantaneous. I think you said this too, these breakthroughs are happening effortlessly. And how exciting is that? It's like the work has paid off, right? Like I think I've always wondered because part of the experience is feeling through the pain and the emotions that are there. And you mentioned death and grief. It's like question, is it worth it? Is it like this is torture, this is hell at some points. And then for what? What is it for? How would you put that into words? Like where is it about the way this makes us feel, or is it about what we create with it, or both?
I think it has to be both. Yeah. That's the I think it has to be both. And it's like I've bounced back and forth between one or the other, like, and that's
Yeah.
where I think people get caught in like material abundance and manifestation, or just like being a leaf in the wind and like blowing wherever they go, and like, oh, the outcome, the process is whatever. I release the need for money, I release like, and so it's like there is truth in both of those things, and it's going to be unique to the individual, but we have to bridge those things together in that form of uniqueness. And so at the first level, though, it has to be the feeling.
Yeah.
Because if we're thinking about being a baby and being born into the world and then being brought up into complexity, you're just operating off of feeling first. You're feeling safe, you're feeling uncomfortable, you're feeling sad, you're like, and the response to your feeling is how you're measuring whether you're safe or not, whether your family loves you, whether like all of these things, how worthy you are, like all of that. Like thinking of a baby, sleep training. I can't stand sleep training. I like it's horrible for children, and
Mhm.
it's like you're basically teaching the child that you're deliberately not going to come comfort them because they need to follow a schedule.
Mhm.
And that begins the sacrifice of self to the schedule of time. And this is all based in time. It's all based in the tree, our timelines, the tree of life, and receiving the fruits of our labor. Where do those fruits have to come from? They have to come from a root system and a form of a tree that's growing. So it's like think about your experiences as a child. Like what did you experience, and obviously no judgment, we're never ever bringing judgment in for anything that's happened to us or with anyone in childhood, including our parents or our family. And so it's like, what do you feel like has how that effect plays out now based off of something you experienced in childhood that was like a conditioned pattern? Because I think
Yeah.
there's a difference between the conditioning versus like the one time, really tough wound.
Yeah.
So there's kind of both.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then the answer I give you, let me know if I answered it the other way. But I think what you're asking, like a good example would be like the relationship dynamics with the romantic partner and the like the trauma bonding.
Mhm.
So a quick example, like the mother wound, as I understand it, is learning that when I do something and it creates a negative reaction to her, I don't like that she's sad or mad at me, so I will curb my behavior to please her. And so that plays out in my romantic partnership.
Mhm.
That would be my answer. So,
Yeah.
yeah, something that happened to me that I learned and that is playing out, and then I'm dealing with first I have to become aware of it, right? And that was maybe just a couple of years ago where I
Yeah.
became aware. But it's more prevalent now. Like people have access to that and can understand these concepts more deeply. So yeah, the awareness and then bringing that into healing has been the process.
Yeah. 100%. So like where is then the belief versus the knowing in that situation?
Yeah, I think the belief gets put into place along with the safety of the pattern, if you will. So the pattern is based on fear. It's based on I'm not it's like I don't have a choice. I'm not going to continue behaving this way if it's going to make my mother mad. I'll be a bad person then, right?
Mhm.
And so the belief comes of I can be okay when people around me are okay.
Yeah.
And if other people are not okay, I need to, it's my responsibility to make it better. What can I do to please to make people feel good around me?
Yeah. So how would you describe the difference between that belief and then the movement into the knowing of that belief? Like what do you see as the distinction between the two?
Like the true knowing.
Yeah. Like how would you define the difference in that feeling
Yeah, it's
if you feel a difference?
yeah, well, I think the sign is that it's terrifying to leave what has allowed you to feel safe. Like we're so far removed from the unsafe thing that we don't even realize it's not that unsafe.
Mhm.
And that and there's love missing from there somewhere, and I can give that to myself. I just want to make a quick comment about what you said before with like the sleep training. I think
Mhm.
there's probably a difference between sleep training of like schedule, like I'm not showing up for you because this is when we sleep, versus like not wanting to become codependent with the child and like every time like you're almost manipulating because you're doing this to get my attention.
But that's the
There's nuances.
problem. But that becomes the problem because why do we think the child is going to be so attached to us when just from us comforting them? We've created a distinction between our fear of the child becoming attached and the reality of what can actually happen. Because who says the child's going to be attached just because there's a primal need for comfort
Mm,
when the child is, it's like if they're doing that, they need something. They need attention.
right.
They very clearly need love. And the inconvenience aspect from the adult and the fear of that timeline forward of, well, what if it turns into this, then creates a disconnection in that bridge between those moments, because
Yeah,
it's like obviously if a child is having trouble sleeping, it's like there are things that can be done to be worked with.
right.
But when a child is 2 years old, a year and a half old, less than that, it's like we've gotten the psychology completely wrong because we look at it from a place of what if. And that what if is the difference between belief and knowing. That what if right there. It's like, what if this happens? What
Mm.
if this happens? What if this happens? And that's how we get insurance. That's how we get insurance scams and insurance schemes, because we are always being put in a place of what if. And so if we're in that quantum arena of what if, we're then removing that what if. We're removing the trust and the faith of what that now moment is calling for in supplement of the what if for the future.
Yes.
Yeah. Because it's
Yeah.
like a perfect example. It's like Deborah and her daughter, she didn't like, it's like there's so many patterns that have been enacted that are um I don't know, I don't even know how to say this. There's just cases upon cases of that not happening. Of it being like a very, very normal type of relationship, from sleep training not being a part of the child's life.
Mm. Yeah. So we might have some young parents watching this. So the message
Mm-hmm.
to the mother who's got two kids under, 3
Mm-hmm.
and who's exhausted and wants a break and sees this as an option, we say like this is part of like showing up for God is delivering to a dependent what is needed, no matter what. Is it self-sacrifice? Like, how is it not self-sacrifice? What is the message to them that they would have to give up their sleep or a schedule to comfort or provide love for a dependent?
Yeah.
I feel very impersonal for a child.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's like there's a lot of things that are modeled. I was just looking for this video that I posted on my Instagram. It's about this exact thing. And it's like uh, the child can feel that too. Like they can feel the intention of like the energy behind things, and that's where then the child at its baseline feels, well, that their desire is more important than my need for comfort